So this is just about comparing your financial aid packages, and I'm Rina. And any questions you guys have, please feel free to put in the chat, and then I can address them. I don't know, I can't really see the chat while I'm doing this, so, but
I can, so I'll help.
she will let me know. That'd be great. All right, so first thing is that you want to think about when you are comparing financial aid packages is the cost of attendance. So hopefully you guys are have been looking into colleges. I don't know if we have a lot of juniors and seniors here, but what the cost of attendance is the estimate of tuition and fees. So every school has their tuition and fees usually available on their website, plus the cost of room and board, books, supplies, transportation, loan fees, and everything else that you would kind of want to know before you enroll in a college. The interesting thing about cost of attendance is usually their tuition and fees and room and board, the living expenses, if you're going to be an on-campus student, is clearly indicated on their website. The other things are usually what we use as an institution regarding cost of attendance, because books can vary, the supplies, the transportation. We can't give you a hard cost, but what we do is we give you what we call an indirect cost for that. And indirect meaning that it is not directly billed to you on your student account, but that's something that you would want to consider, like, oh, okay, for example, I'm in San Diego. If I was looking at a college here in San Diego and I was living on campus, then I wouldn't have much transportation costs, versus if I'm going to go to another school like Houghton in New York, then I would have to put in there, like, I'm going to fly there, and then I would need a car to get from here to there. So those are things that you would want to consider. And that all goes into a neat little calculation called the cost of attendance. So cost of attendance, after you consider that, you're going to compare financial aid packages. And I think the important thing is to know all of your options. So of course, free money is what most people want, and what everybody's really looking for. And the way that you do that is by doing your FAFSA. So once you submit your FAFSA, and make sure you select the colleges that you're considering. And remember, on your FAFSA, you can select up to 10 schools to send your FAFSA information to. And they're going to be looking for a 6-digit estimated contribution number. So you're going to be looking for that number. It's always 6 digits, even if there's a lot of preceding zeros. That's kind of how much you know that you, like the federal government's determining that you can afford to pay. That does not mean that is what you're going to pay at a college, though. So that's very important, is that that number doesn't scare you, because each college is going to use that to help determine what aid is right for their school. So that's, you use the FAFSA for both federal and state aid. Sometimes uses the FAFSA, and sometimes they have a separate application. So for example, in the state of California, you have to apply and do your FAFSA by March 2nd. And then the school sends over the GPA requirements, and then you'll be notified by the school if you're eligible for the Cal Grant, which is state aid. And like I said, for California, it's March 2nd. For every state, they'll have different rules for their state awarding policies for their grants. And then there's also institutional aid. So every institution has different scholarships and grants that you may be eligible for. You're going to want to ask them all the different opportunities you may have. So for example, there may be just outright like a number that you get because of your GPA. That's called academic or merit scholarships. And then there's also athletic aid. So if you play a sport, they may have on top of that another athletic scholarship you can be eligible for. And then there's institutional need-based aid. So that's anything perhaps that you're applying for and you're like, oh, like it's going to be really expensive. Is there any kind of need-based aid, an extra grant or scholarship that the college can offer you? Sometimes there's also other institutional aid that you can look into, such as like scholarships that are for leadership, or scholarship for ministry teams or worship teams, or different things that you're going to want to look into. So I would just ask your financial aid counselor at each school kind of what they have available to you, because you want to, again, get the best package that you want. Also, when comparing financial aid packages, you need to think about the possibility of loans. I know that is a scary word for a lot of people, but they can also be instrumental in helping you afford college. So in my view, the only reasons why people should really take out a loan is typically for education, a house, and maybe a car, because of course you need a car to get to both school and to work. But other than that, I mean, these loans are going to really help you get to the career that you want to be able to attain. So for example, I need a master's degree for my role here at the college. So I did have to take out loans for both my undergraduate and my graduate work. I was able to pay them down though, and I've paid them completely off many years ago. But that does help you get to where you need to. So I know sometimes it could be nervous paying off loans. I will mention that federal loans this year are really, really low. They're at 2.75 for a unsubsidized loans. And so federal loans have both a component of an unsub and a subsidized direct loan. Subsidized literally means it's subsidized by the government. So you don't pay any interest while you're in school. So let's just say you borrow the max of 5,500 and 1,750 of that is in a sub loan per semester. You would take that sub loan and you would owe exactly that amount once school ended 4 years later, or once you're out of school for 6 months or longer. There's also private aid, private loans that are available. So you can look into private lenders, and a lot of them, they'll have them on a list of the colleges you're working with. And you could also use a bank or a network that maybe you're familiar with, that you have some credit with already, and ask if your school will accept that. And then some schools even offer institutional loans. So some schools will have their own loans that they give their students. Just keep in mind that loans for federal aid are based on your student, and it's just for the student's use. They don't have to have a credit check or anything for that. They get it just for being a student. The other ones, a private loans, are usually credit based. And if you have to take out like a Parent Plus loan, which is a loan in your name to help your student, those are all based on credit. Do we have any questions so far? So when you're comparing financial aid packages, you're going to want to look at all the free aid plus the loans. And then I have the next slide. So this is some really helpful tips and tools to figure out. This website I really want to highlight. It's really cool. If you, when you're figuring out your net cost, you want to think about what are you paying out of pocket, your direct costs. So if you know you or your student are going to live on campus, you want to consider all the campus fees that go along with that, their dorm, their meal plan, everything else. You're going to want to take the tuition and put that all into a like a formula. And a website that's really helpful that'll help you do that is this website. I'm actually going to click on it so that I can take you to the website real quick. Hold on one sec. It's by College Board, so some of you may be familiar. Can you see my screen, Denise, where it says Big Future?
Yes, we can see it. And we did have a request for you to put the link in the chat at the end for them to
Sure.
be able to click on it. So, yeah.
Absolutely, I will definitely do that. But this is Big Future. It is through College Board, and where you can do is you can put your school. So say you were considering my school, which is San Diego Christian, and then you could put the tuition and fees. So for like a year, my school is like $31,300, and then our room and board is about $6,500, and then this is where it comes in handy. Like books and supplies can be objective, but in your financial aid packages, a lot of schools have like what their cost of attendance would be on your financial aid letter when you get it. That'll tell you. And then travel. So let's just say, yeah, I'm from San Diego, so my travel would be like my travel or transportation would be zero, let's just say. And personal expenses, maybe I put a little number here, 500. But let's just say that I'm also looking at, for example, Houghton, like I said, is in New York. And I want to put that in, and their tuition and fees is like 42,000. I don't know. These are just made up numbers, okay, for any other school other than mine. And then say their room and board was like, I don't know, 7,000. And then we're going to put in the same for books and supplies because I don't know that. But travel, and I'm from California and I'm flying out to New York. So let's just say I put in like a buffer number of like 2,500 in here. And then my extra expenses are 500. Then you would go in here into the gift aid and you would put in like all the grants and scholarships you're getting, all the loans that you want to take, and you're going to take calculate, and it'll actually show you how much you're going to be able to be eligible for, like what the best net cost will be. So it'll take all of your cost, all the things that you are going to be charged for, and then it'll take subtract all the aid that you're receiving, and it'll give you like a worksheet. So I'm just going to fill this out real quickly. Let's just say you got $10,000 worth of scholarships here, but here you got 16,000. Federal loans, let's just put 5,500 for both schools. And most schools don't do Perkins anymore. And then you want to do like a $1,500 worth of work study for both schools, and you calculate. So it's going to give you here all of the cost of attendance. It's going to be the family shares of cost and the percentage of aid here. So it'll help you understand kind of apples to apples. Because see, even though Houghton's financial aid was larger, so is their cost of attendance, if that makes sense. So sometimes people get really all excited about getting a large scholarship from any given school, but then you have to think about also how much your cost of attendance will be, or else it's not fair. It's kind of like if you were to buy a house and you didn't look at the same type of house and you took out a loan and you're taking out loans, you're like, oh, this house has like, they give you like no closing costs or whatever, but the house is going to cost you 30,000 more. Doesn't really matter in the long run because you're going to pay more for that college, even though they have zero closing costs. Do we have any questions before I go back to my other slide?
No questions yet, but again, feel free to type any questions you might have in the chat. Thank you guys.
Great. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so another thing is after you go on there and you kind of look at what your out-of-pocket costs may be, you want to also ask each school their options. So for example, a payment plan option, some schools offer, or most schools offer a payment plan. Some have some kind of fee associated or interest associated with taking a payment plan. Other schools don't have any kind of payment plan fees or anything. For my example, my school, if you were to owe 1,000 out of pocket, you could break that 1,000 per semester into 4 monthly payments of 250, and we wouldn't charge you any extra for doing that. So a lot of parents or a lot of families or students don't have that upfront money available all at once. So you might want to ask them for if they have payment plan options. The other thing, of course, is additional free money, which is always good. And I'm a single mom of 2 girls. One is going to be in high school this next year, and the other one is going to be in college. So I'm a mom of a senior in high school this year, and it's been difficult trying to navigate visiting campuses, trying to figure out what everybody's financial aid package is going to be. But this is where I think things like this, where if you do some research, that could really help you. In addition, I have my daughter doing a lot of outside scholarships, and she was actually awarded 2, both from fastweb.com. So you can check out that site. There's also petersons.com, which is also good. And one more that I didn't put on here, but it's really easy to find, is the College Board. If your student has signed up to do any of the tests, and even if they haven't, they can go through like these different basic, and it helped them learn the college aid system if they go through College Board, and every level they complete, they could apply for one of their scholarships, and their scholarships are pretty large too. So I would definitely check out some free scholarship options that you can find on the web, as well as some that you may already have partnerships with. For example, I bank with Chase Bank, and Chase has scholarship opportunities through my bank. A lot of credit unions are great places to look as well. So any opportunity that you can take to help you kind of like add to your financial aid package is always good. But that's kind of like the basics of looking at cost of attendance, is making sure that you, again, are using the right figures to figure out what's going to be the best for you financially. And if you don't understand something, I would definitely reach out to a financial aid counselor at the college that you're applying to so that they can help walk you through. Because that's what we're here for. At the end of the day, when I talk with parents and students, I know it can be overwhelming. I know it can get pretty tough to understand all of that, especially if you didn't go to college, or as a parent or as a student, you were like, I really want to go to college, but I'm not sure how to do this. Tap into the resources you have us help walk you through it, and we're more than happy to do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point. If I can, hold on one second. Maybe it's not letting me manage my, oh, stop sharing. There we go. Sorry about that. So hopefully that was a good kind of brief way of explaining how to compare your financial aid packages. I'm going to put that website in the chat like you had asked. Oh, maybe, I don't know that because I'm looking at the chat. Oh, here it is. But does anybody else have another question before we close today?
Yeah, there is another question. It
Sure.
says, when should a current junior do the FAFSA form?
So the FAFSA opens up on October 1st of every year. So if you're a junior, it's actually going to open up October 1st of 2021 for you to start signing in. And the more time, the better. If you do the FAFSA, you may be selected for verification, and that may take a little longer for you to complete all the documents that they're going to ask for. But filling out a FAFSA itself is pretty easy. All you're going to do is they're going to ask you for for this year, it's your 2019 taxes. And if you're going to start school in the fall of 2022, it's always prior year. So I'm going to be looking at your 2000 taxes. Okay, I see this. I heard the FAFSA is going away next year or so. Is that correct? It's actually going to be implemented for 22-23, I believe. Because we did just get that from the government. It will be it's not going away. It won't be completely going away. It's just going to be a different process. And they haven't told us what that process is going to be yet, but it's supposed to be much simpler to do. But it's the government, and they have to have their controls and policies in place. So I'm sure that they will teach all of us, obviously first as financial aid advisors, and then we will walk our students through that when they make those changes. But I don't think they've even figured out what all those changes are going to be yet.
What should students and parents be talking about if the student's a junior in high school right now? What are conversations they can be having as they're thinking about comparing the costs and things like that?
Sure. So most schools are also looking at juniors to kind of get a feel for how much need they might have. And for students, it's always interesting. A lot of students don't know kind of the affordability factor of what would be in reach for them. So as a parent, I had that conversation with my daughter saying hey, I can afford this much. If you want more, then you're going to have to take out loans. If you want to do this school, that may require, you to work also. So it's having those conversations around being transparent with your student, or if you're the student, having that question, having that conversation with your parents of going hey, these are the schools I'm looking into, and this is how much their tuition and fees are. Is that doable for our family? And if not, how, is there a way that we can make that work? And that's when I would start talking with the financial aid counselors from those schools, and they can help maybe problem solve and help you with that. Remember that this is not always a definitive number. So in terms of your financial aid package, if this is your dream school, let's just say that you wanted to go more than anything to Colorado Christian College. It was your dream school. And you're just like, I would express like, hey, I am not sure. This is the college that I'm determined to go to. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to afford it. I would definitely have those conversations with the financial aid office so they can give you their suggestions for that institution.
Awesome. And then, as you know, we're in the middle of this pandemic, what advice would you give to these families going through the financial aid process while we're dealing with this pandemic?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is probably knowing where to go because normally when I do these, they're also in person, and I haven't been able to do any in-person workshops this year, which is a little frustrating. But I would really try to seek out people that in your local area, even if the college that you're looking into isn't able to visit you, or in like if you have a local area and they can meet with you in person, that's great. Or if they're farther away, if they'd be willing to do like a webinar. I give a webinar for or my staff gives webinars for each of our students if they choose to. So at some point in the process, each of our students are being contacted by financial services saying, hey, what can we help you with? Is there a way that we can partner with you to make this a little bit easier?
Great. And we do have another question. It says, do most Christian colleges give the same aid each year? Will we be able to have a close idea of a total cost from the beginning, or is it different every year?
That's a good question. Every college is going to differ a little bit. So I would ask that school if they have like a number. So our school, the one that I work for in particular, and actually all three of the Christian schools I worked for prior worked this way. Our tuition went up a little bit every year, but we would also sometimes recalculate scholarship amounts every year. So that's kind of an individual question for each college that you're considering.
Right. And another question, how are admission counselors assessing volunteering given COVID? Are admissions being adjusted due to the restrictions in place?
I would think so. That's not a requirement of my school, but I know some of my colleagues that are at places that are really kind of selective about the students they choose. I would definitely still look at ways that your student can do. There's a lot of opportunities that they can do online for community service. I would also highlight things that maybe they're doing through your church online or in person. And as things open up more, I think I think those students who are juniors will have much more of an opportunity. But I know like my school has been really much more open to just having conversations rather than a strict like policy on a lot of those things, because we know that students haven't been able to carry out a lot of the different social or extracurricular activities they normally would be doing.
All right. What other questions do you all have for Rena here? Her over 20 years of enrollment management experience at Christian colleges and universities.
I have never seen COVID in my 20 years of work. So this is a whole new ballgame for all of us. So we've all had to pivot. And I think that's just, the way that you're feeling is the way we're feeling. We're not happy about this. And we're trying to figure out how can we help your students succeed in college? That's the most important thing, is not to be intimidated by any part of the process, that you feel like you're getting served and getting the answers that you need from the admissions or financial aid offices at each of the college. And I'm sure they're all more than willing to work with you, because we know it's stressful. It's stressful to have to be in high school. Like, I just feel so bad for my daughter. It just suddenly dawned on her that she's not going to have a prom. Like, that's something that she's not going to have. So we're hoping she has a ceremony. So, but all of you parents and all of you students that are out there just thinking about what the future what lies ahead in the future, I would just be really hopeful and just know that everybody's on your side. They're wanting to help you succeed. They know it's been tough not being in the classroom, and so even like my school, we're doing programs over the summer to help integrate students back into schools. into the classroom environment because like my daughter, she will be out of the classroom for a total of a year and a half before she even goes back to college. Like she has not stepped on our campus since March. So, that's a very real scenario for a lot of people. So I would just really encourage you to seek guidance from a lot of different people.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. And so, what I want to do is actually close in prayer and then let you guys go. So, let's pray. Lord, I just thank you so much that you are so faithful and that you know us so well and you know what we need and you are faithful to provide, Lord. I thank you for each person that you brought here this evening and who might be listening to this webinar later on, Lord. I just pray that. That they will be blessed, that you will calm anxious any anxious thoughts or concerns. I pray that you will make a way for these students to be where you have called them to be. And I just pray for good communication between parents and students, for peace in the household. And I pray for each person as we deal with this pandemic as we go through it, and just ask that you will help us to learn more about ourselves and learn more about you and grow closer to you during this time. Thank you, Jesus, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you guys for your attendance. And we just wish you all the best as you continue through the admission process. And we're just thankful that we can help you in any way that we can. So have a wonderful evening.
Have a great one.
Bye.